Right, there we
We're
go.
ready. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Wendy Davey. If I haven't sort of met you on here before, I've been supporting Beyond Recovery about 2.5 years. Came across them in a Free P UK conference. I've done a bit of training in person with Jacqueline and met a few of them in person, which is rather great. I work in education with secondary school students, so I work particularly with ones who are anxious or struggling with their behaviour. I use the principles in school a lot. I do one-to-one work and I have a lot of success with it. Something that I want to pursue a bit more with what the school will allow me to do, because there's lots of rules and regulations, and sometimes it can be difficult. And with the principles, it's some schools or some places aren't so interested, but I'm quite good at pushing things, and I always thought that if I show up and get them results, they'll notice. So that's what I did. So I've had some fantastic results with students that I've made a complete turnaround with, who were afraid to even get in the door and are now in school and a great success. So that's what I do. My job. I live in South Devon in Torquay. I'm originally from London, East End of London, within the sound of Bow Bells. Now, Samara's not on here because she had a question on the WhatsApp about hinting at work you do or what to share, what not to share. I did reply on it that I share from a heartfelt feeling with what feels right in the moment, but always, if in doubt, check in, or as she did, put that comment in so we could reply. I think my reply was okay to her, and Jacqueline or somebody agreed with it. But it's sharing from a knowing feeling and knowing what's right. And also there are the written rules that Corolla put out, which are really helpful as well. So yeah, at any time, if in doubt, put a question. Any of us can do that at any time. And of course, we will all share our good news sometimes, and sometimes not so good news. And I think the WhatsApp is also good if we are struggling ourselves. Sometimes it could be a private message to Corolla, or as Anastasia, she's got a good question as well. I'll share how I connect with my body. We will all do our own thing, but what I do is on a Sunday as a regular thing, that's my quiet day. So I sit down and what I do is I open up and read his letter, and I read it and take it in, and then I read it again, and the second time this is the way I do it. I note down any negatives that might be jumping out and any positives. I just scribble a couple of notes to see what I can talk to, particularly looking for any positives. I can really focus on those, because I think that's what the principles is about. And then I start to reply, from no huge effort in it apart from those couple of little notes, and just write from what feels right to connect. My buddy is a mature man, and he's autistic. And I don't know if that's probably coincidence, because I work with a lot of autistic kids. Didn't know he was autistic until he told me. And he struggles with a huge amount of overthinking, busy mind that he says never stops. But through the letters, he's come to realize that the noise isn't 24/7. And we've worked on that, which is great. So I just go with what feels right. I get into a feeling, and the letter, my reply, just flows. I'll read back my letter to myself 2 or 3 times, check it for spelling and things, but also to make sure it feels right before I send. And something I do in a lot of my letters is I'll put in a poem. No gift or talent to it. I'll just write in the moment what feels right, and sometimes tagging in with something he said. and he likes the poems that I write, so they seem to help him. And it's taken a while to really see any change, but last week for the first time he said he was understanding about being present and living in the moment, in the now, and he was noticing quiet moments. And that's so good, because it's taken a while, because he never believed there was any space between the noise in his head and the constant chatter. So that's quite nice. I'd like to read the poem I put in this week. As I said, I just reel them off in the moment, from what I'm getting from his letter and what I'm feeling is right for him, and he likes them. I'll read this to you. I don't know if you can see me, but I'll just read the poem. Can you hear me still, Carola? Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. I did, because I put it on my screen. Thanks. It's untitled, this one. So, hold the imaginary flower in your hand. Smell its sweet, loving scent. Let it seep through your mind, body, and soul. Let it permeate your being, to take you home, to peace, to quiet, to your beautiful whole humanness. Sit quietly, unafraid of the stillness of your mind. Trust your inner wisdom to speak and guide. Let the power of nature hold you safely. Lie in its slumber. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy life. So I just write those in the moment, and they seem to connect with him. So that's my way, but we all have our own way, and it's an individual thing. And it's, you know, that apart from following the rules that are put out, there isn't a right or wrong way to connect and reply. And we are connecting with people that we can't see, so we can't read those body gestures and language. So yeah, that's how I connect. I don't know if anybody's got any comments or anything they'd like to share around that, or how they connect.
And I just share, just thank you so much for sharing that and sharing your poem. That was beautiful. Really. So
they seem to work for him. Yeah. And that's about me being myself. I do write other stuff that I edit in, but I don't feel the need to. I just write. That's what comes through me, and he hears something in the words that I put, and that's good enough for him. And this is what it's really all about, and it's really important. Yeah.
I mean, I think poems, quite a few of the residents send us poems.
Do they? Yeah.
We get sent poems, and sometimes I think Jacqueline may have shared some in the past in an email or on WhatsApp. I think, it's just a different way of communicating, and it's almost, you can't overanalyze them, so you get quiet. And I just felt myself, when you read your poem out there, just sort of settling into the moment, because I've had quite a busy day.
Yeah. That's why I write them for him, in the hope that he settles a bit. Yeah. So and like I say, they seem to work. They seem to work quite well. Yeah.
And again, just thinking on that note as well, some residents send us pictures, not for a little while actually, but we've had a few that used to send their artwork in. And again, for buddies too, if art is your sort of thing, there is a way on Email a Prisoner of uploading images, either photos or, so it could be a photo of some art. So again, I think it's a great way to communicate with your buddies in the way that is genuine to you, well as just the traditional letter writing sort of format. So
I live in Torquay near a place called Cockington, where Sid went many years ago, and he got the idea for Enlightened Gardener. But it's very beautiful there, and they've got really beautiful flowers and plants and things. And there are a number of, I've taken photographs of it before, and I'm going to include in one of my letters just a photograph of some flowers, so it doesn't give anything away, but just a beautiful scene, because so that he can see something that is beautiful and that might help him as well. So I had the idea to do that. So yeah. We can come to Anastasia's question, I guess. Yeah. Do you want to ask the question again, Anastasia?
Hi, yes. So my question is related to the drug use, and particularly my body told that he's been on and off of using the drugs, and right now in this moment he's out of it, but that for him it's a challenge, and that he knows that it's gonna be a lifelong battle. And I don't know, I didn't have any tangible experience of this, not in my studies with the 3 principles, and we didn't touch this theme, and not in my own life, so I don't know how to approach this theme of him. And it was the only thing he wrote me about in this first letter, and I haven't seen his first pack, so I don't know if it's something that really bothers him and needs to be talked about, or is just something that he shared, and I just maybe need to say him that it's nice that he's able to get out of it, and that he realizes that it's something bad for him, that he doesn't need it, or I don't know. I would like to see your opinions about this, or maybe you have experience with it and can tell me how you dealt with a situation like this.
I think if I told you how I deal with it, that'd be coming from me, and you were alluding to some sort of reply towards the end of what you were saying there yourself. I mean, when you first read it, was there anything that came to you that you felt, that you'd want to reply back to him?
Well, so what I thought it was marvelous that he is able to get out of it, even though it's in steps. It's not like full experience, whereas never getting back, but even this short period of times or long, I don't know how is it, it's amazing. And maybe he doesn't need to take it so serious as a lifelong battle, but rather as experience of life and a human experience, that we all get into our bad habits back, but when we understand how we function, and that we live our thoughts, and what emotions are, and that we don't need to tap our emotions with external use of drugs or alcohol, but rather than understanding how our thinking works, then we can get this calmness inside, not from the drugs, but from the life experience itself. So rather than perceiving it as a battle, maybe just like as experience of life, like anything else. So this is what I thought, but I don't know if it's...
That was the most beautiful reply, wasn't it, Carola? That came from your heart. So if I gave you a reply, and Karen or Tom, it's not going to be, in my opinion, the right reply. That came from you for him. And that's, it's just trusting. And if it doesn't come to you in that moment, we haven't got the person in front of us, we can take some time. We've got a busy mind, which can happen. Something will come to you. Yeah. That was beautiful. I think you just answered your own question. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add to that.
Yeah, I think you've just answered your own question. You answered that beautifully. And also, like I just said before we started recording, I have actually got his packs and scanned them. I had to go out and buy a new scanner. My scanner broke. So there was another few days delay after the holiday. But I've scanned his first pack in, and I've got his second pack too, which you will get them either later tonight, but more likely early tomorrow. So again, when you read that, there might be something else in there that will add to what you've already got to say to him. But what you just said just sounded, yeah, a perfect reply anyway.
And the principles teaches us, Anastasia, that we have the answers. He has his own answers. And your reply would be beautiful. But, you know, if he has moments where he can be quiet, he's going to hear that himself, his own wisdom and the answers that he needs. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I was doubting if maybe there is a I don't know, maybe in prisons they have some sort of help with the drugs use, you know, maybe he can I can suggest him that he can talk to somebody in there, or I more like off in this area of social life, because it's just my first body and my first letter, so I didn't know from where to start, and it looks like I didn't, or it feels for me that I don't have broader understanding of the circumstances there, and but yeah, so probably I just needed probably to express myself and to hear your kind of approval, or not approval, but just understanding that seeing like going in the right direction.
That's the thing with the principles. We all need sometimes just to have someone, you know, hear us sound off a bit, and I certainly do that. You know, I'm unsure about things, and something I commonly do, and Jacqueline knows this, I'll say, look, I've got this thing I'm concerned about, and I'll talk about it, and as I'm talking about it, I start laughing because I say, I think I've just heard my answer. It's a really common thing with me. But yeah, we sometimes in the talking, because we're offloading, we're sharing, for me, I can often hear my own answer, not always, but that's quite interesting. Hi, Adina. Welcome.
Hi. So I didn't know how to unmute. I'm on my phone.
It's lovely to have you here. Lovely to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Do you have anything you want to share or any questions?
No, so I only had one body so far, and I found it relatively difficult to get things out of her, in the sense that I would share things that maybe we have in common, and she would reply very bluntly, in a way, very dry, and straight to the point. So yeah, we've stopped having any communication now, probably since the beginning of July. And yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't really know how to. I feel like I put a lot into it without expecting anything in return. And maybe we didn't connect as much.
Possibly it might not be that. There could be lots of reasons, but because you can't see them face to face. I had two buddies at the start, neither of them replied to me. This one now does. That's the way it goes. But yeah, I would say, Carola, that I suppose you get some all right, and then it just stops for whatever reason, and we don't know, do we?
We don't, and it's possible. Your buddy was Jordan, wasn't it, Adina?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, I think she had a new baby while you were
I
there.
know.
And I read some of your letters, and I think you must have been a huge support to her. You know, you wrote some beautiful letters to her.
Thank you.
And I think if you think of anyone when they've had a new baby, it's probably difficult to get present. And she was in prison, so she wasn't always with her baby. You know, she couldn't see him very often and things. So, and it's possible that she's even been released. We just don't know when people stop writing.
I was thinking about that, because she had parole meeting on the 1st of July, and I haven't heard back since. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
mean,
what happened there.
no, I mean, I know she asked, I mean, again, interesting for people to know, but she asked for us to, through Adina, she asked me to email her 3 workbooks and her certificate to her solicitor and her parole officer, hoping it would help her parole, that she'd done our course and everything, which I did. I emailed them through. So, you know, maybe the hopeful thing is she isn't in touch now because she's been released and she's full on with her new baby. You know, that would be great news. And again, sometimes we hear back from people years later. So you've probably heard from Jacqueline that we had 25 letters come in over the last couple of months. There was a delay collecting the mail from the office, so we got 2 months worth of letters all together. And then I was on holiday when they arrived, so they had to wait another couple of weeks for me to, but they've now all been replied to. I've emailed all the prisoners on Email a Prisoner. Jacqueline wrote a little paragraph for each of them for me to include in reply to their specific things in their letters. But 2 of those letters were from prisoners who did physical courses in prison, one of them 6 or 7 years ago with Jacqueline, and he'd sent this beautiful letter in saying, oh, you know, do you remember me? And just shared how the course had made a difference to him over the years. And he'd seen Jacqueline's piece in Inside Time, and you know, was just delighted to read it and get back in touch. And then there was another guy who'd done the course in Nottingham, so that must have been before COVID, I think. Must have been before COVID, and he got back in touch. And I sent his letter across to Al, who did the course with him, who contacted him on Email a Prisoner. So that guy hasn't replied to me on Email a Prisoner about the distance learning scheme, but he'd emailed Al and has given him contact details because he's getting out soon. So it's like, and these were guys who hadn't been in touch with us for years. So I think it's, you know, we sometimes people do just drop off the radar and stop writing, and we don't really know why. But hopefully the contact you've had with them and the connection you've had with them will make a difference anyway. And it's just sort of part and parcel of the system really that we're working within, that you know, there could be all sorts of reasons which we don't know what they are. So yeah, but I think
Fingers crossed I'll hear back from Jordan at some point. I would love to know if she's out, you know, that would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just try sending her another message, because if she's actually out and you send a message now, you might even just get a notification from Email a Prisoner that they couldn't deliver it, and then you'll know that she's out. And if not, she might see it and it might remind her and she might reply. So you know, you can always.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't think of doing that.
Yeah, just send her a little message, you know, saying that you're thinking about her and you'd love to hear how she's doing, even if it's just one line, you know, whatever. But yeah.
Thank you. I'll do that, definitely.
I have a question actually. So especially with Adina talking, and it could be that her buddy's out of prison, we don't know. I wanted to ask, what happens when if a buddy is released from prison, around staying connected with them or not? Because I think there was someone the other day, I don't know if it was Al, someone talking about keeping in contact and connecting with the buddy when they left prison. And of course, some of us might not want to do that. How does that sort of work? So with my buddy, I think he's got a few years yet, but my personal feelings at the moment with respect to him, that once released, I don't mind writing as long as it's still very private. But I think, do some of them actually meet up, or have I got that wrong?
So yeah, so let me answer that. So it's a very individual each situation is different and individual. So the first thing that you would do, if you know that your buddy is about to be released, while they're still there, you can send them the contact details of Beyond Recovery. So Beyond Recovery's email address, which is info@beyondrecovery, or you can send them my email address, Carola@Beyond Recovery. And the Beyond Recovery address, which they have got that information on the back of their packs, but maybe just pop it in an email. So, and ask them just to email. There is a phone number for Beyond Recovery too that goes through to Jacqueline. So ask them to contact Beyond Recovery when they get out, if they would like to keep in touch. So that would be the first stage. And then the second thing would be for you to let me or Jacqueline know. And we would probably have a phone conversation or a Zoom call with you to just discuss what you know about your prisoner, if you don't want to keep in touch with someone once they're released, that's fine. If you do, what we'd recommend is that, for example, there was someone that was released that Alan kept in touch with, but he didn't know him. He hadn't been writing to him that long. So initially they corresponded through my Carola@Beyond Recovery email address. So he didn't have Alan's full name, which was in Alan's private email address. And then they arranged a Zoom call with Jacqueline and Alan and spoke to him. And I think Jacqueline shared about that. It was a really positive call, the guy. So now I think Alan is just emailing him and having some calls with him privately, because that's what he feels happy to do.
Yes, yes.
It's very individual, and if someone was getting out and you didn't want to keep in touch with them once they're released, we could potentially find them another buddy who'd be happy to correspond with them. Certainly if they haven't finished working their way through the packs, they can carry on doing that when they're out, and they just need to provide us with a new address to post them to and send them back to us. So but again, it's individual, and it has to be based on how comfortable you feel. And again, just keeping it private so that they, it's highly unlikely there'll be any problems, but you don't give them your full name and the town you live in.
No. So at the moment,
yourself.
At the moment, we use the email of prisoners. So once they're released, what would you be working? What would we email you and it's passed on? I don't know, how's it done?
If they would need their own email address, but they could email my email or the info@Beyond Recovery one, and that would then be scanned or forwarded to you. You would reply. So you could email through Beyond Recovery's official email addresses, and just making sure that all your personal email address is deleted before it goes.
Oh, I see. That's reassuring, because that's what, I'm not sure how long mine's got, but that's interesting to know. That answers my question. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, at the moment there aren't really any sort of follow-on schemes for anyone. Like, I know in the past, before COVID, Jacqueline used to sometimes have monthly meetups in London for guys who'd done more the physical courses, things like that. So there isn't anything like that happening at the moment. Again, whether something like that might happen in the future, I have no idea really. But just emailing through an official Beyond Recovery email address they'd have to have an email address. That's the way at the moment. You could offer to have a Zoom with someone, but again, you wouldn't have to. If you didn't feel comfortable, Jacqueline would possibly have a Zoom with them if that felt right. And it's probably not a good idea to offer to meet up with someone at all. Definitely not in advance of them coming out. If once they're out and everything's going well, that's something I would discuss with Jacqueline one-to-one. Generally, we provide a sort of correspondence type service. We don't have the resources to get sort of more involved than that with people, the way the scheme stands at the moment. You can certainly keep in touch with guys after they're released if that feels right to you and if that's what they want.
Yeah. I do that, and I certainly wouldn't want to meet up. I work with very vulnerable people, and I like to keep that very separate, you know. So I wouldn't want to, I like to be private myself. So yeah, but now I understand it. I would be happy if, you know, the buddy's still connecting with me to continue it afterwards. So
yeah, and I think in the guidelines we just put to contact Jacqueline or myself in that situation, and we would discuss it individually and decide what the best course of action would be at the time. So yeah.
The letters that she receives, that's in the North London office. I've been there. I know she's going to be speeding that up a bit, isn't she? She's going to move it nearer to where she is. But it'd be nice, perhaps, next time if she was able to read a letter to us, because she read a letter to me once when I was with her, and me and some others, and it was just so nice from the prisoner. It's really quite heartwarming. Their letters,
yeah.
they're beautiful, aren't they? So it'd be really nice if you could pass it to her next time, if she's able to, and if it's not too private, to read one of the letters to us, because it's just, some of them are really quite beautiful. And yeah, I think sometimes they bring a tear to her eye, don't they, what they put in
I was
them.
saying, yeah, I mean, I read them all when they arrived, and there was a few of them that brought a tear to my eyes. They were just so sweet. So yeah, and I'll ask her, actually. I might even be able to scan a couple, maybe blank out the more personal names and things, and maybe share them with the buddies. I'll ask her if that's okay with her. Maybe we can just share a few of them, not all 25, but
no.
I'll ask her actually if that would be, we could do that, and certainly, you know, she may be able to read one out in her next call. Anyway,
Has anybody got anything they'd like to ask or share? How things are going with their buddies? Hi, Karen.
Yeah, hi. I take it everybody, the prisoners, they all write like by hand, don't they? So you get their handwritten message rather than an actual typed out message. Well, I certainly do with my buddy. And sometimes I find it quite difficult to read his writing. And also I've been diagnosed with dyslexia, so it's a bit difficult sometimes trying to work out what's being said. But I would be interested to know as well if his workbooks had arrived with you, Carola, because he's really desperate for me to get to read his workbook. So I don't know if you got my buddy's workbooks.
Your buddy is Gregory, isn't he?
That's the one.
Yeah, and his haven't arrived. So
he's going to be so disappointed.
He did email me saying that he'd sent one and it had got returned to him. And I really don't know why, because he's got the same return envelope as everybody else has. And he said he'd posted it back. So they haven't arrived. I mean, there will be more mail, because the last mail was collected about 4 weeks ago. So there will be some more there waiting for someone to go and collect it, hopefully in the next week or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, and as regards the writing can be difficult to read. I mean, what I find, I actually print it out because I find it easier to read the printout than on the screen. And even you can get a ruler and almost go down line by line. And I have been known to even type out when I've had a poem or something that's difficult to read. I might actually just type it out as I decipher it.
That's really good.
Just for myself.
That's really good advice.
Yeah. And the majority of them do handwrite. A few of the residents obviously have access to a computer and they send typed replies, but the great majority of them are handwritten, and that's just the way it is at the moment with that.
Do they have access to the internet or anything like that? Do they have access to like YouTube or things like that? No.
So they don't have any. They don't have
Sorry.
access to the internet or YouTube or anything, or mobile phones officially. I think unofficially, quite a few of them.
Okay.
But we wouldn't be in contact like that.
Yeah.
And some prisons, I think, have computers that they can use for like educational type purposes in a library. But not everyone has access to that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Because I think
but you can't really recommend anything to them to watch on YouTube or anything like that. 'Cause
it's such a shame. It's a shame for him because I think he's really desperate to learn and get input. You know, he's like a little sponge. I think.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you just want to give him stuff that's going to help him. You know.
Well, like I said, I think I said in the WhatsApp group,
You
we can send
did.
him a book. We can send him more books. If
Yeah.
you just ask him, again, I Googled it, and officially you are meant to be able to send books into prisons, but sometimes they get confiscated on the way in. So just ask him to check with one of his prison officers. If we send him a book, would he be allowed to receive it? The book would have a label in saying Beyond Recovery at the front.
Okay.
So, and if I was going to send it, I could let you know when I've posted it. Wendy, I've just posted the book to you.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, I got the request just before I went on holiday, and I hadn't got the copy of the book. So basically, I've sent it out probably about a week ago. When I got back, I went over to Jacqueline's, got the book, and so it has been sent to him. So
Which book is it, out of interest?
The Enlightened Gardener. So it'd be The Enlightened Gardener. We've got a batch of those at the moment. So that would be the book that we'd be sending out to
Good.
people.
And what I'm hoping to do, because he said he'd look forward to it, he likes reading, is if he reads anything, and then we can maybe communicate. He tells me which chapter he read, I can read it and have a conversation. I think that'd be really interesting, and I think it's the right time with him now that he's just started to see something. So it'd be lovely for him to perhaps read The Enlightened Gardener and to see or hear what he gets from that. That'd be fantastic. That's lovely.
And again, if they've got the CDs, you can always suggest they listen to those again. That you can listen to it a few weeks after you've listened to it the first time. You might, once you've done the workbooks, you might hear completely different things in it. So that's another resource.
Some of them aren't able to play the CDs, are they? They don't have facilities. Yeah.
You never know, even if the CDs get to them, sometimes they're taken out before they get to them. Some guys don't have the facilities to play them. And in fact, because we've got 25 packs, we've just sent out, and we hadn't got enough CDs. So we're actually not even sending the CDs out unless the person comes back and asks for the CD. I think probably a lot of them just get put in a corner and used as a coaster for a coffee mug or something. But yeah, and again, Jacqueline's going to look into whether we could get the CDs put in the prison libraries, maybe, so that there's a way that people can go and listen to them. But again, it's not easy to get things sort of done in the prison by officials. We get sent information, so and so would like information, and she's going to promote the scheme, and then you send them loads of information and some packs, and you never hear from them again. So, but yeah, we just keep trying.
Tom, how's the connection with your buddy going? How are things going with them? Are they writing to you regularly?
Not really. Quite disappointed. I attempted, but I failed. So
sorry, what was disappointing? Did they not reply?
Yes, they have not replied.
Yeah.
I mean, all I'd say there, Tom, is it's not personal. There's a lot of buddies that haven't replied. On the positive note, we've now had 25 letters in the last 2 months. Normally there's 1 or 2 letters a month. I've emailed everyone, and 3 of them have already replied to me, and 1's replied to Alan. So hopefully once we start getting their workbooks back in a few weeks, there will be some new buddies who are more likely to communicate. Because also the last batch of buddies, and I think the last one that you got paired with, Tom, were people who had physically done the course at Portland, and out of about 20 people, I think only 2 or 3 of them ever replied. They all got written to once or twice or even 3 times. You know, we encourage people to write them a couple of letters, but for some of them, you know, and we don't know the reasons. You know, a couple of them I saw when we went back to the second course, and there was a guy that I think Liz had written to him, and he said he'd love getting her letter, but he just never wrote letters, not even to his mum, who was the favourite person in his world. So he just said, I'm probably not going to write back. And the other guys, you know, you don't know how literate they are when they've done the course face to face, just speaking. And others just, you know, different people have different ways of communicating. And maybe just because they learnt the course, learnt the principles more face to face, writing wasn't their forte, if you like. So, but I am hopeful that with this, you know, we've had this big input now of 25 new pack ones going out, that you know, a good number of those will come back, and hopefully a good number of those will want buddies and will be responsive, if you like. And it's like Wendy said, she had a couple of guys who didn't reply first. It really is, you know, there is some luck involved as well as
What I did with my 2 before, I wrote 3 times before stopping in the final one. I said, I'm happy to write if you wish me to continue, just reply with a yes, and that would be enough, because I was accepting that they might not want to be doing writing but might want to receive my emails. But both of them didn't reply even with 1 word. So I stopped after the 3rd one. But this particular one just happens to like communicating that way. And if I think about a lot of the students I work with at school, the type that a student that I work with, that a lot of them do get in trouble, they struggle and complain about writing 1 line, you know. So the sort of students I work with aren't natural writers and enjoy writing, so put a phone in their hand and they'll text, you know. I mean, if we were communicating by text, we probably would get more replies, but that's not the way we do it. But no, I didn't it didn't bother me. Don't know the reason, and that's not important. It's just that we offer you know, ourselves up to connect, and if nothing comes back, it's a bit like, you know, if you had 1,000 circulars to send out and got 2 replies, that's great, you know. So this is what we do in writing. So if you were doing this a long time, I haven't been doing it that long, you might, if you'd got around to having 10 buddies and you connected with 2, that's great, isn't it?
Well, certainly I will reply to anyone who wants to write to me. So
yeah, and that's all we can do. That's in the hope that there's some connection is made. But it's at no fault of ours, because we are coming from a great place to connect. I remember I do some great stuff with Mavis Khan, joining her training, and she says when she has a client, sometimes she can tell straight away that they just don't want to be with her in the room, and she'll say to them, she's been doing it a long time, she'll say, you really don't want to be here, do you? And they'll say no, and she'll say, well, you know, let's not waste the hour, you know, I'm happy for you to go. These are people who usually family members have sent them, but it's a similar thing, you know. The idea might have been put into the buddy's head, but then they feel at some point it's just not for them, and that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. there anything else that you want to say, Carola, or anybody else on the call?
I don't think I've got anything else to share. I mean, the next call is going to be Monday, the 16th of October, and that's Jacqueline.
And what was the theme? I forgot.
Not good enough, as she came up with the theme, something around that. So yeah, something.
That's a great theme, because you could think of your buddy not feeling good enough, but also even we don't feel good enough, whether that's in our daily lives or writing a reply. So that applies to everybody. I should think that'll be quite popular, and hopefully in that one we'll get some more people coming on and being available. Yeah. So you happy to end it here, Carola? If there's no more questions, yeah.
Anyone got anything else? Any questions? Anything they want to share, or we can just end. We're nearly at the hour anyway. So
yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well, let me say thank you so much, Wendy, for
oh, thank you, everybody. It's been really lovely. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's been lovely, and thank you everyone for coming along. And take care. Have a good evening, and hopefully see you in about 6 weeks on the next call.
Lovely.
And just again, anything that comes up, any questions, like Anastasia, you were saying, if there's anything you're worried about, put it on the WhatsApp group, and you can always ask for a call with myself or just another buddy, because sometimes just when someone holds that space for you to talk through your question, your problem, you quite often come up with your own answer anyway. And I can always do that, and there'll be other buddies who would be willing to do that as well. So just don't worry if you have something you're just not sure about, just ask. And if you don't want to put it on the WhatsApp group, just email me privately and we can work out the best way to move forward. But don't ever feel stuck, and don't ever feel that any question is too small.
I think, Karen, did you want to say something, Karen? Or
yes, I did, Wendy. I wanted to ask you a question. It's actually unrelated to the Beyond Recovery work. It's just with the work that you do. I'm really interested in that, because I'm very close to my cousin's son, who's in his mid-20s, and he has autism, and he is really struggling with his thinking, and he knows it's his thought that's out of control. And I'm very new to the principles, so I have my L plates on and I am doing my best to try and help him just to calm his thoughts. I don't feel I'm necessarily being that successful, but I'd be really interested to have a conversation with you about how I could potentially help him to relax, because he's not to enjoy his life. Because
no
sorry to hijack this.
Different students. So Carola, can you share my email with Karen?
I'll email you both
there. That'd be absolutely fine.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
The answer would be, in short, it's a bit like we connect with the prisoner. It's the body. It's the same thing from the heart. But we can talk. That's fine. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.